Hi everyone, welcome back. So I am making this video because I am chronically intimate with how painful it is to feel immune to realities too exhausting to change, too exhausting to escape, and quite frankly, paralyzing to the glory of certain shame. I am obviously happy to have you here, but I think if you are, like myself, intimate with the uncomfortabilities I'm about to, enumerate in the following video, I'm even more relieved if you stay with me, stay present with me because these uncomfortabilities are difficult. They're gonna be especially for myself, it's gonna be a rough one. Not rough in the in a bad sense, but I think necessarily difficult. So yeah, without further ado, let's begin. So, over the past decade, digital culture has really ripened from static consumption to immersive reality blurring experiences. Although I don't think all of us have escaped the rot, and specifically the brain rot. And I'm gonna point the gun directly at my head for this one because I know, I will be the first to admit that that I have been guilty, because I think some of us start smelling, for lack of a better word, when we start imagining and pontificating about the realities that we could, possibly be a part of, possibly be the main characters of. And it's not a bad thing. I will just say this. Look, there are levels to this, as a writer first and an aspiring programmer second. I understand that not all delusion is unsalvageable fantasy. I mean, it takes an extremely intelligent mind to put together a universe that holds. I mean, think of how many impossible precisions in our own world have to hold in order to make things work. And so I think that should really put things, at least for myself, I think that should really put things into perspective. Anyway, I think what once existed as passive entertainment has now truly evolved into deeply participatory and emotion-inducing experiences. Spaces, specifically, online spaces where people are not merely viewers, but inhabitants of deeply and abstractly constructed realities. This shift is particularly evident in the POV trend on social media platforms like TikTok and BookTok, the latter obviously being my favorite. Here, users are really encouraged to imagine themselves as protagonists in fantasy-based, often hyper-romanticized scenarios, fueled by carefully curated soundtracks, aesthetic filters, and AI-induced storytelling. The result, and here's where we really get into the science of it, a powerful bioelectric and neurochemical immersion into artificial realities, ones that, over time, actually begin to compete with and potentially override material reality. This is maladaptive daydreaming. And before we go on, let me just say this. A common misconception about maladaptive daydreaming is that just by sort of acknowledging it or telling somebody to stop, you're the genius. You're the genius who's fixed the problem. That is no, that's not how things work. The problem is not the daydream. The problem is the pain that forces one to have to dream. The problem is what forces somebody to want to have to escape. As I started researching, the internal mechanics of this state, the calibration of consciousness, all of these ideas started sending chills, quite literally, down my spine, because honestly, we've been incredibly irresponsible with how we treat our subconscious parts. In my opinion, we just don't treat them very well. And I think that it is incredibly naive to think that sometime, somewhere down the line in life, these parts will not retaliate. I mean, in critical kairos moments of opportune encounter, people self-sabotage and they ask themselves, why? Like they are in all ways confused and like, why did I do this to myself? Why was I so stupid? Why did I do that? And to me, it's like, it's so obvious. You have created a whole grown enemy within yourself. Like you single-handedly convinced a part of you that you don't matter. Do you honestly think that that part of you will allow you to have anything good in life? No. Who are you to think that you deserve it? Deserve to thrive? Damn, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know that probably struck a chord with some of you. I'm demonstrating what these insecure subconscious parts in your own mind sound like and feel like. I had to just I felt it. I felt it. I apologize. I don't know. You can just feel that something hit particularly deep. I don't know. Maybe, you know what? Maybe I'm just projecting. Anyway, you are a human being. You are light. Yes, milliseconds from conception, the first bioelectric fields emitted from your conscious form can be observed and detected. And for me, beyond the profound property of conscious life to distinguish itself from its own autogenous imaginations and its own autonomy in somebody else's imaginations, an entity with rights and influence only in regions that belong to its own awareness. Did you know that people can actually have their awareness scattered? And listen, you cannot tell me that this is not a thing, because I have seen it for myself. And I think, especially listening to so many people's testimonies, it's so incredibly cruel to dismiss an experience so painful and crippling. Like, why would you invent for yourself that kind of pain? Anyway, I really just need you to understand that imagination had its place, its significance in your life from the time that you were conceived. Biophotons, light, the very stuff that you emit because you are alive, have both particle and wave properties. That is why emotions pull on the sensitivities of the bioelectric fields mapped out by the photons in your nervous system, in your heart, your gut, your brain. Electromagnetic fields govern our emotional states and the way we interact with other people's emotional states. You have been engaging in a form of imagination since birth, and because all cells communicate using electrical signals and action potentials, we know now, thanks to Michael Levin's research, that before genes physically express themselves, bioelectric gradients pre-map the body's form within the womb. I don't know if you're seeing this, I don't know if you're visualizing this, but fields literally determine where your organs go, how your limbs are going to develop, how your neural system is going to, spread itself out. It's like a field, like it maps out via a bioelectrical gradient, and then your material form fills itself out. Now, I know that I personally have a very like an extremely vivid imagination, and I didn't realize until maybe a couple of years ago that there are levels to this, that some people do not have the same vivid and immersive experience at any point in time, with their imaginations that I do. And, it's fine. Most women do, most readers do. And based on research, I personally suspect it has to do with the neuroplasticity of the brain. It is a fact that women have a more neuroplastic brain than men, which also, I think, explains why we tend to engage more with written fantasies. We tend to be more captivated by these narratives, whilst men, on the other hand, I think, respond more predictably to visual stimuli. Women like visual, aesthetic things too. Like, that's true, but it's different. It's always different between men and women. You know what I'm talking about. And I truly do believe that our differences in neuroplasticity shape these distinct experiential preferences. But this also means that light and electromagnetic fields don't just react to consciousness. The light that you emit as a conscious being is actively shaping potential. And when imagination is reinforced by hormonal and dissociative triggers, it manipulates the electrochemical environment of the brain. So, okay, I've been talking for a while, but what does this have to do with maladaptive daydreaming? Maladaptive daydreaming exploits these bioelectric and biophotonic fields. When an individual engages in extreme fantasy escapism, especially those realities infused with, intense emotion, desire, longing, this alters the electromagnetic charge of their neural environment. Over time, as these imaginations, as these immersions become more detailed and elaborate, they begin to entangle with the brain's default mode network, otherwise known as the DMN. This is the part responsible for identity, for memory, and for self-referential thoughts. And this entanglement, in my opinion, definitely creates a self-reinforcing loop. I think I think it creates a death spiral. Reality feels painful or dull. Then you escape to a hyper-stimulating fantasy. Then the brain obviously receives reward, so that's your dopamine or oxytocin release. And then the return to reality feels more painful or unbearable than before. After that, in response, you repeat, because you've got increasing dependency on the fantasy world. This is precisely why maladaptive daydreaming is not merely a bad habit. It is a neurological and quantum level death spiral of disillusionment. Because guess what? Eventually, you must come back. You must come back. Oh gosh. You must come back, and you can't stay there forever. And every time you return, the reality you return to has a sorer influence over your own disillusionment. It's like, it's reinforcing. You guys, I told you this was gonna get rough. It really just reinforces your disillusionment with the world. And obviously in certain environments and narrative subcultures, whether it be through TV shows, whether it be through books, whether it be through TikTok, whether it be through POVs, there's POV YouTube or whatever accounts, like there can be, and there have, I've seen the account, I'm sure you've seen them too, sexual undertones to this, because women impose expectative sexual fantasies, securities, and excitements on imaginary men who can never protest those standards. And I hear you, girls, I can practically hear you through the screen, like, Catherine, where do I find such a man so impressionable to my own fantasies? Where do I encounter a specimen with such profound spinelessness, with so little self-identity that they will willingly, fully become my own fantasy in every aspect of their life? Where, Catherine, do I find such men? And guys, I have several options for you. The first option is my backhand, because I'm about to hit you over the head. I'm only joking. We don't promote violence. Okay, the first option would be therapy. You need to leave these poor men alone if that is how you are approaching relationships, if that is how you are approaching, human beings, with this attitude of wanting to control them and force them into your fantasy. The only men who will never protest those standards are imaginary men and simps, maybe. But I think the difficulty with, quote unquote, the online defined simp is that they bend themselves so far backwards that they end up not being that attractive. And so we have an issue. We have problems, guys, on both ends. We have things, guys, we need to come together. We need to help each other. Seriously, we need to help each other. But the more and more I scroll online, which is, been terrible for my mental health, the more and more I scroll online, the more and more I'm realizing so many of us are ensnared in these narratives. If none of this resonates, then this video is not for you. If you are secure, then absolutely no part of what I say should offend you. If nothing I've said here struck a nerve, then this video is not for you. If you are, genuinely more excited about the real potential of your life, if you are a reader, if you are a writer, if you are a storyteller, and you are fully engaged healthily in both worlds, then this should offend, in fact, I suspect that you are wholly uninterested in this video because you have nothing to lose. But if you are at some deep level emotionally bonding with non-existent partners and struggling to integrate those realities and those longings, those desires into real life, into mundane reality, then I think we have a problem. And the reason this whole conversation started to haunt me was because I started really thinking about how far I wanted the integrity of my own character to extend beyond the physical reality as it describes the way I think about people, real people. What about what people don't see? And I don't mean integrity as it describes what you do when no one's watching necessarily. I mean, I really started trying to measure integrity on the subconscious level. Basically, I started thinking about what would give me the ick. Two guys, okay? Hypothetical scenario. Well, I'm pulling this from some real experience, but for now it's hypothetical. So just stick with me, okay? So two guys, my closest friends, okay? We respect each other. Both treat me the same way. Both say that they respect me, and I express the same sentiments. I tell them that I respect them, and don't worry, I'm going to definitely flip this on myself in a second, because that's always fun. But yes, two guy friends. We have I've established with the both of them, independently, that the platonic vibe is what we're sticking with. All right, we've this is a friendship. This is platonic. This is all that it is ever going to be. But I care very deeply about these people. I respect them. I invest in them, and they invest in me. It's a friendship. We respect that established dynamic, and we've made a relationship out of it. Now, say we are co-workers, and we share the same office, we share the same space, but I come to find out that one of them fantasizes at least 2.5 hours a day about what it would be like to choke. Now, neither of these men's internal thoughts are my business, thank goodness. But if I were to pick between the two of them, which one's integrity I would be more inclined to invest in, you could. Common sense would tell you which one I would pick. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would be more inclined to trust the one who extends his opinion about me to how he thinks about me. Because what you say you believe about a person has greater consistency, greater integrity, greater exposure of that person's subconscious character, when the truth of your beliefs extends to the controllable subconscious. Now, to specify, I said the controllable subconscious. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about impulsive thoughts, sexual urges, like that stuff. Everybody has that. It's actually like it's stupid to harp on that. Everybody has, maybe not everybody, but people do have uncontrollable thoughts, invasive sexual urges. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the controllable subconscious mind. I'm talking about entire dreamscapes of distinct specificity. I am talking about elaborate stories. Like when you have a deliberately consistent paradigm of respect concerning what you think about somebody, what you might do to somebody, and it maps across several imaginative potentials that are within your control. Yes, I would definitely trust your integrity more. Like, oh no, Catherine, I would never do X, Y, or Z in real life. Like, I know you wouldn't do that. Serious. Like, I know you wouldn't do that. And quite frankly, because this video concerns the hypothetical, I don't care that you wouldn't do that. Like, nobody is in trouble here. We're discussing the imagination, okay? Let's ground us for a second. Why would you dream or fantasize about something that you insist you have no tolerance for in real life? Is it like a different version of yourself? Or is it because you don't actually respect the person and you know that the narrative within your own head removes any potential consequences that would otherwise exist in material reality, but you can escape in your own head? It's like, oh, Catherine, those are impossibly high standards. But I'm not talking about like impulsive or, invasive thoughts and, even sexual impulses. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about elaborate fantasies. I'm talking about indulging in entire, entire dreamscapes and scenarios about a person. And I would never hold somebody to the same standards that I personally expect of myself. Like, I'm not telling anybody what to do. I don't know if you guys can tell. This is a very personal video. This is a very personal interrogation of my own character. I'm passing this out in real time, but when it comes to imagining excitable potentials that concern real people, I personally don't want there to be such egregious disparities between my outward testimony and my internal fantasies such that I habitually dishonor this person in my mind whilst convincing them of a completely different perspective in real life. This is obviously as it concerns real people, real human beings. I think imagined characters are a whole other discussion, but I still think that even that is worth discussing, because creating cycles of dopaminergic reactions around entities and people and characters that don't exist really inflames the disillusionment when you have to come back down to earth. And like I said, there are levels to this. It's not always the self-indulgent, fantasy where you exploit those in real life who would otherwise never know it, because they're not in your head. Sometimes, and I sympathize with the fact that for a lot of people, the only reality where you actually feel seen, where you actually feel like your actions, your efforts have consequence to a fulfilling relationship, to a satisfying career. Sometimes the reality where those efforts actually have consequence, seemingly, is an imagined reality. And that can be incredibly painful. But like I said, that's where I truly do believe it becomes such a death spiral. Because for how relieving and idyllic the daydream is, reality appreciates in the factor for which it tortures you. For many people, false realities are the only realities in which they feel seen. And I think that is truly the cruelest part of the cycle. I don't think that we should be in psychological captivity to realities that we know we could thrive within. Light is the light that through bioelectric fields mapped out your formation in the womb. These fields form when you think and imagine, meaning they pre-pattern not just physical growth, but they pattern out your cognitive and emotional structuring. I mean, there is nothing coincidental about the desires that are placed within you. I mean, I don't talk a lot about my faith on this channel, but the Bible is a cryptographic text, and that is why it is so fascinating to me, because it encodes so many mysteries about light that have informed science. And that is exactly what the other day I was beefing with God. Like, we were tussling. we were really going at it. But anyway, I was really wrestling, and I was really, guys, it got ugly. It got really. Why are certain imaginations, aspirations, dreams, visions, like down to the specificity of like a dynamic with your future spouse, down to what your day-to-day life with your children, if you're not having children, then your house, your career, everything. Why are those placed incurably within people when the irretrievability of those potentials are what will like inevitably haunt them? And God he's telling me, okay, look into the biophotonic nature of light. He's telling me that the human womb is a matrix. I'm researching this. We're having conversations, and I think the thing that really struck me was how much I felt that he had an opinion about this, and that's why I think, looking back, I think that's why it got so intense, because he clearly has an opinion about us being programmed into self-reinforcing death cycles of disillusionment. I don't know how to explain it if you're not, I'm a Christian, by the way, for transparency. I don't know how else to explain the fact that like I could feel his anger. You obviously don't have to believe me when I say this. I mean, I don't have a reason to lie. I don't have a reason to lie to you, but you are not unseen at all in the reality that you are trying to get away from, if that is what you're facing, if that is what you're engaging with right now. And he is so angry because he has an elaborate opinion of you. He has an incredibly high opinion of you. And I'm not just telling you this to make you feel good, but really, seriously, false fantasies, false realities, inspired by a corporate machine of fiction that requires you to remain disillusioned in order to finance itself. I think in this world, as we are currently experiencing it, false reality programming has evolved far beyond just persuasion and entertainment. It has become an energetic and quantum level form of identity capture. And I don't think this is how it was supposed to be. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for giving me your attention throughout this entire video. If you've made it till the end, I'm always, you know, sometimes I'm editing and I can't, I really, like, I wonder who, because I tend to go on tangents, I tend to ramble, but I really wonder who has the strength to make it till the end. But I mean, I don't know, I just uploaded anyway, and I'm trying to limit the length of my videos to like 10-15 minutes at most. That doesn't seem to be happening, and we're trying our best, guys, but yeah, I'll see you soon. I'll see you next time. You guys are wonderful. You're great. Please, if no one told you that today, I told you, and I would never lie. I would never lie to you. Never. Me, never. No, I'm perfect. I'm kidding. Okay, bye. I'm leaving. Bye. Goodbye. I'll see you hopefully very soon. You take care, and goodbye.